Hello everyone, welcome back to the Jimmy's YouTube. It's Ty this time, and I'm hidden away because I've duped the Jimmys and they can't know about my schemes. They think I'm making a power scaling video for the channel, but I'm doing nothing like that. Not even close. Mr. Peabody and Sherman is a 2014 American animated science fiction comedy film produced by DreamWorks Animation. The film is based on characters from Peabody's Improbable History, a segment of the animated television series The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. It was directed by Rob Minkoff and written by Craig Wright. It features the voices of Ty Burrell, Max Charles, Ariel Winter, Stephen Colbert, Leslie Main, and Allison Janney. In the film, Mr. Peabody and his adopted human son, Sherman, use the Wayback, a time machine, to embark on a time travel adventure. When Sherman accidentally rips a hole in the universe by taking the Wayback without permission to impress his classmate, Penny Peterson, they must find themselves to repair history and save the future. So, that's just like an excerpt from Wikipedia, because when writing a script, my least favorite part is just talking about what the movie's about. We've seen the movie, and if you haven't, just watch it and then come back and see the video. So yeah, and it is a kid's movie, and I don't care. I'm gonna scrutinize it. Okay, let's get into it. To really explore Mr. Peabody's identity, we first have to look into his upbringing, which gives us our first insight at what it means to be a dog in the Mr. Peabody and Sherman universe. Being a dog means serving humans, and failing to do so is the #1 ticket to being left alone, to being shunned by humanity. Mr. Peabody is of course not like other dogs. He struggles to complete typical dog behavior. He can't bark, he can't fetch, he can't comply with simple commands, and he struggles to connect with humans because of this. Instead, he finds an interest in philosophy and sciences, and he decides to educate himself, which allows him to look at the practices of dogs and humans through a critical lens. But this did not help him in his pursuit of companionship. If anything, this made it harder, and this is where Peabody learned his first lesson about the inequality of dogs and about masking, because dog behavior is inherently performative in this universe. He realized that if he just put his thoughts and his self-expression aside, he could maybe perform as a typical dog and he could maybe get that companionship. But his barks were unconvincing, and the humans never would throw him another stick.
The Petersons! Welcome!
So he's literally a dog.
Hello, Sherman.
Sherman, I've got to get you out of here before you touch yourself!
Just get back! I need
The first case study is the intersectionality of Sherman's identity and how it relates to his father and his rights to parenthood. Sherman is the human son to Peabody, and because of Peabody's great accomplishments, Sherman is afforded a large sum of wealth and an education from a very, very wealthy and very, very prestigious private school. Sherman's identity is that of much privilege. He's a man, he's white, he's wealthy, but with the knowledge that his father is a dog, there is some intersectionality with his being. When his classmate Penny first learns that Mr. Peabody is a dog, and is second undermined by Sherman's answer in class, her ego is shattered. See, Sherman and Penny are alike in most ways. In fact, Mostly their identity is the same, except Penny is in fact a girl. The difference is that Penny's father is distant and Peabody is very close to Sherman, but is a dog. Penny is unable to consider that her father, a human, could be a worse father than that dog. Her own bigotry blinds her and convinces her to bully Sherman. During their lunch, Penny walks over to Sherman and asks him, "Oh, so you eat human food?" implying that because he is a dog father that he'd be eating dog food, and that everything he does would be dog-like, when in fact that's not the case. Now, Sherman is naive and corrects her accordingly, and just wants to be friends with everyone. In fact, he's having a good time, until Penny decides to steal his sandwich and begin to command him to fetch it as she tosses it aside. Sherman, embarrassed, begrudgingly goes to grab his sandwich, to which Penny steals his dog whistle, which was a gift from Peabody to him. She then begins to capture him in a headlock, taunting him and leaving him with no other options but to bite her to escape her assault. But biting her would have grave consequences, as Sherman's transgression is seen as far, far more important because he's raised by a dog. So while Mr. Peabody wasn't even in question, and Sherman is not even partly a dog, he has still changed the perception of him while he wasn't there. Everything that Peabody earned, parenthood, human rights, all of that was at stake because of what Sherman did in self-defense. Now, a bite is something any child might do in that situation, but a bite from a dog, now that's violent, that's inherent to their nature. This has been nurtured into Sherman, that's what they think. Child Protective Services are very harsh on the topic, and the representative, Miss Runyon, is very, very interested in severing the bond between Peabody and Sherman because she does not believe a dog can father a boy. Peabody is afforded no lenience and is threatened. But, as he did all his life, he thinks that he might be able to convince the humans otherwise, to let them know that he is of service to them better than any other dog, and that he has the right to exist because he provides. In the film, we get a glance at the files showing pictures of Penny post-incident. One of the photos shows her crying and pouting. The other shows the evident bite mark. When Sherman fought in self-defense, he wasn't just fighting Penny. He was encountering bigotry, and he fell right into her trap. Penny weaponized Sherman's identity to create a case for her own preconceived bigoted views, to take down Sherman, using her privilege to prevent Sherman from asserting himself and challenging the inequality. Penny became a victim of dog violence, and Peabody became the source. She controlled the narrative, and the system did the rest of the work. The next case study is on Mr. Peabody's performance at his dinner party for Penny's family so that he can make amends and reclaim the rights given to him by the court to father Sherman, even after the incident. And when the Petersons arrive, immediately it's evident to see why Penny is the way that she is. Her father, while on a rant about how important she is to her and how Peabody better not mess this up, he immediately gets a phone call and answers a survey and just decides, well, you know what, this conversation's done, I gotta do work now. So it shows that he's very much distant to Penny. And his first comment entering is to Peabody is calling him literally a dog. And his wife then corrected him as if he had just said a slur. So it's very clear that their family is very bigoted towards dogs and very distant towards Penny. After this interaction, Mr. Peabody shows that he is very proficient in de-escalating even the smallest microaggressions towards him, as he's able to say, "I prefer literate dog" instead of literally a dog, because he is, in fact, one of the few dogs who can read. Throughout this entire time, Peabody is preparing an elaborate meal and playing music and performing. He does piano and every other instrument known to man. He creates the most immaculate feast and cocktails, and Mr. Peterson is not amused one bit. In fact, Mr. Peterson is unflinching from his phone. He's just doing work, taking surveys, doing anything to distract himself, as he's not interested. He's just gonna sue Peabody after this anyway. He just figures he could probably get a meal out of it. But then, as he gets up to leave, frustrated that Peabody was able to anticipate like his demands with his instruments and all these things, he pulls out his back. And Mr. Peabody is a licensed in chiropractic, so he's able to serve Mr. Peterson, and that's the most important part. He serves him, and then afterwards, his perception of Peabody has changed completely. He's having a good time, he's trying the food, he's enjoying the music, and he's excited to see what cocktail Mr. Peabody has cooked up this time. And that is because humans inherently have to serve dogs in this universe to gain any dignity from them at all. Mr. Peabody has to comply with the bigoted views just to survive by serving humanity in the ways he likes. And while this was easy for him because Mr. Peabody is very capable in all of the things that he does, sciences, arts, sports, athleticism, all of that, he's very privileged in that way. Other dogs clearly aren't. They have to settle for catching sticks. They have to settle for barking and sitting and lying over. And Mr. Peabody is very fortunate, and this is very clear, that the way he gets by is a very problematic systemic issue with dogs and humans. So this concludes my second case study. The final case study, and my final issue with the movie, my real greatest criticism for Mr. Peabody and Sherman, is the end scene where all the historical figures are brought back to the present, and Mr. Peabody is tasked with saving the space-time continuum. Now, Peabody is the only person in the world who can do this, but naturally Miss Grunion still wants to send him to the pound, even saying, frankly, like a very ominous line for a kid's movie, where Sherman asks Miss Grunion where they're going to take Mr. Peabody, and she says,
"Don't you know what happens to dogs that bite?"
Which is crazy. That's just asking for kids to ask their parents, like, "Hey, what happens to the dogs who bite?" And like, that's pretty awkward. But that's not too important. The real thing is when Peabody receives the presidential pardons and the Constitution of the United States is altered by George Washington. It's literally revised in the present, and then it's implied that he brings that Constitution back to the past, changing it in the modern times, right? So he basically says that all men and some dogs are equal, which doesn't solve the issue because he was already some dogs. Mr. Peabody was already in the category of some dogs who deserve the rights of men, right? It's just that they othered him into being into the other category of dogs who don't deserve those rights, which is why they're able to send him to the pound and put him down. So the movie's conflict is not actually resolved. All the systemic issues still exist, even more presently in the Constitution. If anything, it got worse. Maybe not worse. You could probably work with it a bit more. I don't know anything about American politics. When it comes to the Constitution, getting an amendment can't be that hard, right? Yeah, I think this is the worst part of the movie narratively, because like, while the story is resolved, Mr. Peabody's inequalities isn't, which it would be clever if their intention was to be telling like a deep movie, but this is a kids movie that is pretty clever, but kind of falls flat here, I think. I don't think the intent was that. So, yeah, that would be my final case study for this. I'm sort of tucked away right now. I'm going to have to tell the conclusion for my Peabody review. And I think since we've looked at the case studies, I can really hammer home my main criticism with the plot. And it's that Peabody is set back by his identity, the fact that he's a dog. And he's treated in a way that mirrors the real life experiences of queer parents, of black parents, of and of neurodivergent individuals too, right? Like all these case studies kind of lead you to believe that, like in the first one, it leads you to believe like he can't fit in, he can't act like a dog, right? So he's masking, he's acting like a human. That's very much a neurodivergent story. And then you get to his story of adopting Sherman, and that's very much in line with like a queer story where Sherman was abandoned and he came in to accept a baby that no one else wanted, and then people believe that he was he was making Sherman like more like him in a negative way, right? And if we look at like the racial kind of aspect of it, Peabody is seen as a lower race. He's seen as a lower class, right? Like he literally is missing some of the rights and systemically has a harder time keeping his personhood, and systemically has a harder time keeping his right to father Sherman, right? Like so like you see all these things going on in the plot, and then they mess it up right at the end in our last like case study where obviously Grunyon's not gonna have her mind changed, but she gets taken care of. But they literally had the president there to pardon him and change the Constitution, and they still messed it up because they didn't want to deal with the idea that all dogs had to be people. It's they could only have Peabody be a person, but not really. The courts can still go after him. He's on the run still. And yeah, so I think that's really what I got to say. I don't know what the fuck this video was, but I hope whoever watches it is happy to have their brain melt down at the part where I start doing like the YouTube poop edits. Okay, bye everyone. This is oh yeah, this is the Jimmy's face reveal. I didn't really do a segment in the video for that, but yeah, I'm the last one who hadn't shown their face, so this is definitely a great debut.